Comedy movies have been dead for the past decade,
Why
which is
comedy
especially
movies
depressing
died?
because Hollywood stopped making funny movies when we needed them the most. The past 10 years have been some of the most chaotic and divided times in modern
Hollywood stopped making funny movies in a time when we needed them the most. You want to know why? Because of this damn picture right here. Everybody takes everything so serious, especially when it's said on a stage by somebody who has a fan base. Like, if say all this stuff right here, right? All this stuff going on. If Eddie Murphy, Brandon Mack, anybody who is a comedian, if he was allowed to, Brandon Mack, but anybody, any comedian, if they took advantage of this shit and used it and said it and it was funny, imagine how many like people in the crowd would be trying to cancel them. That cancel culture shit was so fucking serious. Like, it was super serious. Like, they were able to bring the reputation of people down even over shit that was not fucking serious. So, like, I feel like it's impossible. During that time period, it was impossible to create certain things without certain judgments and the cancel culture coming after you. Like, think about this. Have you ever seen Tropic Thunder? Listen, what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. played a black man in that movie, right? And back then, there was no problem with that. You feel me? Like, then as soon as he started blowing up and getting famous and getting credibility and whatnot, guess what happened? They tried to hold him accountable for that shit, and it was just a movie. I'm a black man. Was I offended? Hell no, that shit was funny. Okay? But I understand that it takes a certain amount of, you know what I'm saying, girth and understanding and, a bunch of different shit to and intellect to understand being funny and what is funny. That shit was genuinely funny. That whole fucking movie had me crying and laughing. It was just funny. But, like, take this crowd, for example. You put them in that room and they realize that that's Robert Downey Jr., they will go ballistics. Like, it's stupid, bro. Like, there's no winning in certain situations like that. So, I mean, at that point, if there's no winning, you might as well, just let that shit go. And that's what Hollywood did.
history, politics taking over literally everything, cost of living skyrocketing, and people spending hours online doom scrolling an infinite feed of bad news. If there was ever a time we needed to collectively sit in a theater and just laugh at something stupid, it's now. But it wasn't always like this. During the 90s and early 2000s, we were getting multiple hilarious comedy films each year. I bet you forgot how stacked the year 2004 was. Anchorman, White Chicks, Dodgeball, Mean Girls, Napoleon Dynamite, all in the same year. If we got one movie as funny as any of these in the past 5 years, we would be grateful. But this isn't even just an opinion. The data doesn't lie. 2016 was the official point of no return for comedy films. In that year, comedies made up about 12% of the domestic...
Is 2016? Wait. Is comedy the only thing that had a bad year in 2016? Like, be real, bro. 2016 was a fucking movie. Getting away and doing whatever the fuck you basically wanted as a person, as a kid, as an adult. Like, life was in a sweet spot. And right now, life is not in a sweet spot. And you tell me that comedy started dying in 2016 when everything was damn near perfect? Crazy work.
Box office and pulled in $1.1 billion. Just 1 year later, their share was nearly cut in half to 7%, with gross revenue dropping to $790 million, making it the single biggest one-year collapse on record. After that, it was all downhill. 2022 was particularly abysmal, with the entire genre of comedy grossing $259 million. That is an entire year of movies that gross less than just what The Hangover did in 2009. So what happened to comedy films after 2016? Well, there are a few things we have to consider, but it all boils down to one major reason. And today we are going to discuss everything, starting with how Hollywood lost the creativity that we used to see in small, medium, and high-budget comedy films. The beauty of comedy is that it's boundaryless. Unlike drama, kind of action, or even horror, it doesn't really need to play by any established rules. A comedy can start with literally anything. A talking animal, a man stuck in a time loop, a dodgeball tournament, a pair of clueless clueless detectives and turn it into a creative masterpiece. The premise doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't even have to make any sense. As long as it's funny, it works. Take Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, for example. What a unique concept. A private investigator who specializes in finding lost animals and solves crimes through pure chaos and speaks almost entirely in one-liners. At one point, he's literally crawling out of a rhino's ass. Then again, Jim Carrey was kind of a cheat code for 90s comedies. Films like The Mask and Liar Liar showcased his ability to immerse us into the most ridiculous plots imaginable. Carrey had this cartoon-like elasticity. He could bend and contort his face and body, which made even the dumbest scenes or dialogue unforgettable. Or what about Dumb and Dumber, which is literally just a movie about two dumbasses?
You go straight ahead and you make the left over the bridge.
Boss left. Boss right.
That's a lovely accent you have. New Jersey?
Austria.
Austria? Well then, good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
I always found myself gravitating towards films that had insanely unrealistic plots. The kind of movies where the world they're in doesn't follow society's rules or any rules at all. When there's no logic to be broken and the possibilities are endless. Like, literally anything can happen. The Hangover took this concept to the absolute maximum. At its core, it's just a bachelor party gone wrong. Something that in real life might just end with a bad hangover and some embarrassing photos. But in this world, it spirals into a mystery involving a missing groom, a stolen police car, a baby in the closet, Mike Tyson's tiger, and a mob boss named Mr. Chow. It's an escalating chain of ridiculous events where every new reveal is crazier than the last, and because the movie establishes early on that anything can happen, you never question it. In Anchorman, the 1970s news industry is less about journalism and more about ego wars that escalate into literal deadly combat between rival news teams. Complete with tridents, horses, and someone catching on fire and then casually returning to work like nothing happened. Anchorman is the perfect example of a comedy movie that dedicates almost all of its dialogue to do one very important thing: make you laugh.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
Oh, people in the background talking. I was like,
Doesn't make sense.
The amount of quotable lines in this movie is unprecedented. It was even unique back then, but now, I mean, maybe you'd be lucky to get one or two quotables in a comedy movie. Dodgeball is about a Las Vegas dodgeball tournament for fully grown adults with a prize big enough to save a failing gym.
And both of them motherfuckers is failing.
You can dodge a ball.
What?
Oh, shit.
They get their asses handed to them by a bunch of Girl Scouts, experiment with some interesting uniform styles, and Ben Stiller is in this film doing what he does best, playing the role of the villain. And what about Ted, which asks you to accept, without hesitation, that a man's childhood teddy bear came to life, grew up with him, drinks, does drugs, and gets into full-blown relationships. And these are just some of the ultra-mainstream movies. Don't even get me started on Pootie Tang and Don't Be a Menace to...
Boy, let me tell you, boy, Pootie Tang, hilarious. Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Another absolute banger. Masterpieces. Let's just say actual size.
South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. These are movies that are so absurd that you have to make sure you watch them with people who have the same humor as you, otherwise they'll look at you like you're crazy. There are very few comedies today that keep the spirit of this insane absurdity. However, Cocaine Bear is one that does come to mind, which is about an American black bear that eats a stash of cocaine that fell out of a plane smuggling drugs. The bear becomes highly aggressive, attacking and trying to kill hikers in its way. While the movie is just alright, I do respect the dumbness of this idea. It's not trying to be relatable, it's just leaning fully into a ridiculous premise and committing to the bit, and that's something we don't nearly get enough of anymore. Most modern comedy movies take the safe...
Boring. Real snooze fest, am I right? Like, bro. When this movie was coming out, bro, I was losing my fucking mind, dog. I was like, oh my god, bro. This is exactly what we fucking needed. This is what we did not fucking need. This movie. We could have gone without this. We really could have. The girls, maybe not, but me, personally, I really could have, my world wouldn't change.
We get movies like Vacation Friends 2, a generic sequel with the same recycled concept of a holiday gone wrong and being stuck surrounded by people with clashing personalities. Or The Man from Toronto, another Kevin Hart buddy comedy that is so formulaic it feels like it was designed for people to turn on and then fall asleep while the ads run. Comedies rarely go for absurd humor these days because, well, it's really difficult. Too open of a canvas can make it harder to build a story with structure. The freedom to do anything also means there's nothing stopping you from literally losing the plot, which is kind of what happened in Cocaine Bear. However, other great comedy films in the past started with a lightly realistic framework, which only enhanced the absolute farce that took place during the film. Like Super Troopers, a movie about morally questionable cops. Sure, that sounds realistic, until you realize these highway patrol officers spend more time pranking civilians and messing with each other than actually enforcing the law. In a way that doesn't even come close to representing reality, and none of them would still have jobs after these antics. But at the same time, it does make you think some cops might actually act like that in private. Or The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Sure, it's very possible that a man could abstain or just not have the opportunity to have sex for half their life. And if you found that out, you might think, wow, that's interesting, and then move on. But the movie takes that basic believable premise and pushes it into pure absurdity. It then turns into all of Steve Carell's co-workers dedicating their entire lives to getting him laid. And of course, stepbrothers. I have a stepbrother, tons of people have step siblings. It's an extremely relatable experience, navigating new family dynamics and sharing space with someone you didn't grow up with. But in the film, nothing about that is relatable. We have two 40-year-old men with no jobs that spend their days building bunk beds, hanging out in a treehouse, and fighting like toddlers.
I didn't touch a drum set, okay? I witnessed with my eyes your testicles touching my drum set. All right, that's it!
A modern version of this absurd but also still upholding a slight realistic framework is the teen comedy movie Bottoms, which is basically just another silly high school movie, but through the lens of two queer students. The high school jocks in the film wear their full padded football uniforms 24/7, in class, at parties, while sleeping. It's obviously unrealistic, but it's a funny way of critiquing jocks that dedicate their entire personality to the sport they play. Oh, and a nice touch was throwing one of them in a cage in the classroom for absolutely no reason.
Try telling Dimitri Walker that. Little mother.
What's his name? Who is that? I can't remember. Is that a football player? That's a football player. What is his name? It's on the tip of my tongue, dog.
First week, and I ain't seen him since.
Dimitri Walker committed suicide the first week of school.
What?
Mr. G.
Sure he did.
The reason why most comedy films today feel like they are missing that ultra creative touch, at least according to legendary director and producer Judd Apatow, is because comedy writers these days are just less funny. He said, when you make the list of the best movies of all time, you're always going to put Airplane on it. And if movies like that aren't being made right now, it's because people aren't smart enough and funny enough to make them. Okay, so who would be smart enough or funny enough to write a modern masterpiece? Well, I've noticed that comedy films today seem to be missing actual comedians. And that's because some of the funniest and most popular comedians today are opting for something much easier and more profitable: podcasts. Before podcasts became wildly popular, comedians had essentially three routes to earn a career: get a job on Saturday Night Live, secure a TV sitcom, or get a role in a comedy film. The mainstream visibility earned through these avenues allowed comedians to fill seats in comedy clubs across the country. The vast majority of the comedians responsible for your favorite comedy films were originally platformed by SNL. Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, Will Ferrell, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, Kristen Wiig. I could keep going on and on. It was much easier for a current or ex-SNL cast member to pitch a movie to a major studio because they have already proven to the industry that they are funny. So when these comedians began to see success in films in the 2000s, they assisted in casting other comedy actors with a ton of potential. Actors like Jonah Hill, Zach Galifianakis, Paul Rudd, Vince Vaughn, Melissa McCarthy, Steve Carell were able to skip over SNL and go straight to the big screen. And it sounds painfully obvious to say, but I think a large reason why older films were funnier was because the funniest people at the time were either writing or acting in these comedy films. Today, a comedian doesn't need SNL or a comedy film to determine their potential for a comedy career. All they need is a podcast. If you can be funny for an hour a week behind a microphone smartphone, clip the best moments for TikTok or Instagram, and build a loyal audience online, you can skip Hollywood entirely and still sell out theaters on a national tour. I'm sure Theo Von could assist in writing or acting in a really funny movie if he tried, but why would he?
He could dead play another, what's that shit called? What was the dude's name? Trailer Trash. He was Joe Dirt? Yeah, he could play the next Joe Dirt.
Podcast ad revenue, Patreon subscribers, and live show ticket sales selling out all over the country, a lot of comics are making more money than they ever could from starring in a studio comedy without months of shooting, studio interference, or the risk of a box office flop. This shift is a huge win for independent comedians, but a huge loss for comedy films. The performers who would have once been fighting to star in the next Step Brothers or The Hangover are now trying to get a spot on the Joe Rogan podcast or be interviewed by Theo Von. They don't need to spend years chasing a studio deal, and they don't have to share their earnings with a production company. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, we can now hear from our favorite funny person every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, without waiting years for them to land a movie role. But the trade-off is that we don't get these larger-than-life, culturally defining moments that comedy films used to create. Nobody is quoting a podcast episode 15 years later the way people still quote Anchorman or Superbad. Well, except this one.
My mother's very pretty.
She's a beautiful woman.
Unlike your cross-eyed mother.
Well, you don't have to.
I'm not Bobby Mother. I'm Bobby Mom.
And another big reason behind the decline of comedy films, as predictable as it is, I know, but we have to talk about cancel culture, because there are some...
Ooh, bro, was I not talking about this in the beginning? Cancel culture. Oh my God, brother. Cancel culture is crazy. Absolutely insane. Like, outrageous. Cancel culture is crazy. Back in the day it was.
Components of this that make it a real factor. I think it goes without saying that most jokes these days receive backlash when they touch on political or social issues. But comedians have incorporated political undertones in their work for decades. Stand-up legends like Richard Pryor and George Carlin have long pushed boundaries and tackled sensitive topics like race, war, religion, gender, and government policies. The biggest difference is that in earlier eras, their controversial material was more likely to be seen as a part of their artistic persona rather than something to be taken literally. The same.
But that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand how it goes from being an artistic persona to something taken literally when comedy has always been, like, you know what I'm saying, heinous.
Thing went for comedy movies. People generally understood that jokes were just jokes, with no intention of doing any actual harm. Then again, societal norms just simply change, and a lot of people today feel that making jokes or making light of very sensitive issues or topics is just not okay. We should not be joking about these things. The 1981 comedy movie Porky's involves male characters spying on naked female students. This was then treated as harmless fun, but now recognized as harassment. The 1984 comedy Revenge of...
Whoa, okay, listen, let me skip up some, because, like, shit's getting a little scary.
A trans woman.
Whoa, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, what did I do to deserve this? I skipped ahead. I did the right thing. And then we're here, hey, listen. Hey, you know what I'm saying?
2001 comedy Shallow House.
God, help me, I paid my little big parachute ass panties, big belly in the front ass panties. Them panties, usually the bitch. Them, oh my God, get back, open it up. Trash bag ass panties.
Enters on the idea that an overweight woman is only seen as attractive through hypnosis, promoting harmful stereotypes. 2007's Norbit has been criticized for its offensive portrayal of black women. The character Rasputia is depicted as an aggressive, loud, violent, hypersexual, and domineering woman. And there's even a scene in Step Brothers that makes
Let's be real. A lot of that is true.
Unapologetic jokes.
Loud.
Jokes about white supremacy and Nazism.
Shit's crazy.
Chances are, if you rewatched any comedy film you loved in the past, you'll find a joke that either aged poorly or maybe you just don't think it's funny anymore. That's normal. And it may...
No, I'm not going to sit there and say it's not funny anymore because it's always been funny. It will always be funny. If it was funny the first time, it's funny the next time. But I do notice myself, like, wincing and, like, cringing at some of the crazy stuff they would say. I was like, ooh, that's a little outrageous, isn't it? Like, I questioned that type of stuff back then. I really would. Or no, I'm sorry, I would question that type of stuff now from back then. But back then, I wouldn't question it. Back then, it was just funny. So, yeah, man. Social norms have changed a lot, you feel me?
It seemed like these jokes or premises were okay in the past and people didn't care as much, but that's not necessarily the case either. They just did not have the platform to express their opinions. Social media has given literally anyone and everyone a platform to express immediate feedback and criticism, and this is a blessing and a curse. I and many other YouTubers literally benefit from this modern social media climate. We have no superiors that are controlling our opinions, deciding who we can and can't criticize, but then again, I am also providing depth, research, and nuance to the videos that I'm putting out. I'm also not trying to say any actor or movie should be canceled, deplatformed, or lose sponsorship or business opportunities. Also, if you look at the positives, the exact opposite can happen. A movie or comedian that is overlooked by the mainstream or considered problematic could actually be really funny, and there will be online praise for it. A telltale sign is when the tomato meter from expert critics is super low, but the popcorn meter, which is fan reviews, is high. However, as we know, most of the problem online praise for it. A telltale sign is when also, if you look at the positives, the exact opposite can happen. A movie or comedian that is overlooked by the mainstream or considered problematic could actually be really funny, and there will be online praise for it. A telltale sign is when the tomato meter from expert critics is super low, but the popcorn meter, which is fan reviews, is high. However, as we know, most of the problems don't come from people giving genuine, nuanced criticism, but rather those who get their fix by causing outrage.
Or get their feelings hurt.
And straight up sit in a theater on the night of release and live tweet how funny a movie is. You'll see zero effort Twitter rage baiters go viral with vague tweets like, "I can't believe y'all think this is funny," or "This is problematic," which seems easy to ignore, but it will genuinely make someone think, "Damn, I guess I shouldn't go see this movie," or "Am I a bad person for thinking this is funny?" And because social media rewards outrage, this can snowball into proof that the comedian, actor, or producer is a terrible person who is somehow unworthy of ever working again. People will read critical tweets with hundreds of thousands of likes, and they might disagree with what the people are saying, but because it has so much engagement and so many likes, it makes people change their opinions, change their minds. Maybe this isn't funny. Maybe I shouldn't think this is funny. And before you know it, there is an all-out online war over what was meant to be a joke.
You got this whole other wave where, like, now you have these people who put themselves in the oddest position of being the curators of what was kind or unkind. This was okay, but this wasn't, or I cringe when I look back at this. It's like crazy. I think those are sometimes the cringiest.
The purveyor
of what is funny or what isn't. Like, comedy's a big tent.
It's ever evolving. It's not to be dictated.
Right. There's no one way to the waterfall. It's a crazy idea that this would sit up and say, here's how you do comedy. It's like, you know, you got slipping on a banana peel to, you know, totally odd conversations to, you know, there's a wide range of what people find to be funny. And it's like almost like people that would like sit and overanalyze a situation to the point of making themselves feel really good about themselves.
And while you might think all of this,
them be them people, boy. Them be them motherfuckers that really sit there and, what's the word I'm looking for? Those be those people, entitled, self-entitled, like those really entitled people piss me off.
This is just easy to ignore. It's social media. It's not real. Just make the movie, right? Well, it's evident that major studios are a little hesitant to release a comedy with edgy or politically incorrect humor. However, actor Seth Rogen disagreed with this notion during an interview with Esquire magazine. The complaint that comedy is harder than it used to be is not a valid complaint. Maybe it was too easy before. And why should it be? Why shouldn't it be hard? I like that my job is hard because I'm trying to do something that requires a huge amount of resources and people's time and energy.
But that's the issue. I don't think that it was too easy in the, like, back then it wasn't too easy. I don't think so. I just feel like people now are so sensitive about everything. Like, everything. Like, I could be speaking about something, right? Let's just use something. I could be speaking about something, right? And that something could have other things that it's in common with, right? And a person will literally go from that something I'm talking about to all those other things that it has in common, but nothing to do directly with, and make it seem like I'm trying to say something that I wasn't trying to say in the first place. You feel what I mean? Like, people just allude to other things, so I feel like they just take shit so much harshly through the overanalyzation of it. So this isn't valid. My bad.
What do you wish you could say? What do you feel has been taken from you? It's always funny when people are like, oh, they could never make the Diversity Day episode of The Office today. You can still watch it. I'm constantly meeting teenagers who love Superbad and who think
Superbad is so fucking
and none
funny.
of them are like, how dare you have said that? And Seth does make some great points here.
No, because back in the... it's because Superbad has established itself. It's been there, done that. Like, it was in existence before this whole cancel culture bullshit. It's solidified in the world. Like, you say Superbad, everybody in the room knows. But if I drop another movie or another movie coming out with the same similar premise, right? And it's funny stuff, people are going to feel some type of way if it has modern day problems in it. So they won't judge Superbad for some shit that happened back then, but they'll judge the movie that's made now. Like,
Studios can still make whatever they want. There's nothing stopping them. And it's not objectively harder to be funny today. It just seems like they are not being honest about what they actually think is funny, which is why these comedy movies come out with boring or sanitized humor. The reason why Superbad holds up is because it was honest about the way many teenage boys think and speak. They are rude, crass, always thinking about sex, insulting each other constantly, distracted in school, thinking about the weekends, and living life like they are invincible.
Just get out of here and we'll talk about this later.
Evan, we're down 2 points.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
You, man.
Hey, Greg, why don't you go pick your pants again?
That was like 8 years ago.
People don't forget.
They call each other gay, sometimes even using the F slur.
Whoa, hold on, let me get back. Hey, I'm not gonna get over the F slur, bro. You do it? My boy, hey man, you know I've been rooting for you, dog. You know I've been rooting for you, fam. You know what I'm saying? Hoping you feel it better and things of that nature and whatnot. Hope you've been, you know what I'm saying, dealing with the due diligence and, you know what I'm saying, things like that. Bruh. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? How you been, gang?
With the exception that, like, just the average teenage boy is not that funny. Now, you might think this is problematic behavior, and maybe it is. So maybe the film is just not for you. But some take it one step further. They say a film like this is platforming and promoting this disgusting behavior. We are idolizing these morally bankrupt teenage boys, which will justify their bad behavior and maybe even inspire them to act in such a way. And hey, that could also be true too. But regardless of how you feel, the movie is good because it is honest. They went for it and they doubled down on it even though it was politically incorrect. A modern version of Superbad wouldn't ever be made because they would be too afraid to offend anyone while providing a somewhat realistic depiction of a teenage boy who is gross and reckless with his words. And even if they did, they would probably add some tertiary character who steps in and tries to correct their behavior or be the voice of reason.
I've been chilling. I've been trying to enjoy my stream, but like, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. My internet for the past couple of days has been like up, down type shit, you know what I'm saying? So it's been real annoying and whatnot. That shit really been killing me. I appreciate you, cause I sure was about to snatch that shit right up out of here. But yeah, that shit just been, you know what I'm saying? It's been hit or miss for like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So I just been trying to record everything to make sure I got a good copy of everything and just posting it when I can. So
then again, sometimes being realistic.
I've been reacting to shit like this. This shit pretty cool or whatever. Like, this was called Why Comedy Movies Die. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Some of this shit here could probably get a nigga banned, but I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna pray that it don't. But yeah. And then I think after this, I'm gonna play. I'm probably gonna play Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't even know for real. I gotta beat Night 4. That shit's hard as fuck.
slapstick is not funny. Like, look at the 2020 film American Pie presents Girls Rules. American Pie is supposed to be a raunchy, disgusting depiction of the primitive young adult or teenage mind. Sex, drugs, partying. It's unapologetic and incredibly stupid. This modern version was supposed to be the same thing, but from the female perspective.
And it absolutely was not. My boys went to watch that shit, and I was like, was it good? They were like, fuck no. So this is acceptable.
Spice up their love lives before graduation, 4 female high school seniors band together to harness their girl power and get what they want from the boys. Let's just compare really quick. The first clip is from the original American...
Whoa, 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 whoa. We do indeed. We do gotta have a scary movie night or a scary game night. I ain't gonna lie. We finna play Peak tomorrow. Me and a couple of my friends and whatnot, we finna play Peak tomorrow. And you're more than welcome to join us if you would like. I don't know if I can show this next part because I ain't gonna lie, American Pie is fucking crazy. I'm scared of what they gonna say.
This is how they wrote a female innuendo.
Oh, and this one time at band camp, I stuck a flute in my...
Excuse me?
What? You don't think I know how to get myself off?
Whoa.
Well, that's what half of band camp is. So, are we gonna screw soon? Because I'm getting kind of antsy.
Now compare that to the new American Pie.
None of us need a man to have a healthy life. I am learning that technology has given us incredible innovations in self-pleasure. And like
boring snooze fest.
Rabbits, wands, vibrators, remote-controlled plugs, beads, then wall balls and wall balls. Oh yeah, I have to.
Real snooze fest. Yeah, feel me?
Maybe this new version is funnier, and I'm just not the target demographic. So I'll ask my 20% female audience, what do you think is funnier? A girl saying, we don't need men, we have toys. Or a girl saying, I shoved a flute up it at band camp. The fear of being canceled is so apparent that studios seem to not even try to make a true comedy anymore. Some of the most highly rated comedy films in the 2020s aren't exactly praised for their straight-up funny premises and jokes. Take Don't Look Up, for example. Sure, it has funny moments, but it's a satire about a planet-killing comet that's clearly a metaphor for climate change, media distraction, and problematic politics, setting up the planet for failure. Do these comments look like they are for a comedy movie? I always respect a movie that has the balls to actually show the world ending. Every disaster movie starts with the government ignoring a scientist. We really did have everything, didn't we? Damn, that made me cry. You know what other comedies are extremely popular in the 2020s? Free Guy, Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Guardians of the Galaxy is absolutely hilarious.
and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Do you notice anything different about these comedy movies? They are superhero movies. And don't get me wrong, they're entertaining, they're fun, but they're not comedies in the traditional sense. We get a lot of these films that are action first with humor as a seasoning, but ultimately, much like every other industry, the true reason why comedy films are not being made like they used to is because of, you guessed it, money. When it comes to movie theater ticket sales and financial performance, comedies have always been risky. While genres like adventure and action can have more of an expected success due to built-in spectacle, global appeal, and merchandising potential, comedies rely almost entirely on the jokes landing. What one person finds hilarious, another might find confusing, offensive, or simply unfunny. Jokes often rely on shared knowledge, references, or social commentary that might not translate across different cultures or age groups. A comedy scene that relies on American pop culture might fall flat for an international audience unfamiliar with these references. And on top of that, there's typically no giant CGI battle or billion-dollar franchise name to fall back on if the audience isn't laughing. Now, back in the day, plenty of comedies were huge financial successes. Meet the Fockers, The Waterboy, Wedding Crashers, 22 Jump Street, all grossing hundreds of millions of dollars in the worldwide box office, whereas others that are still considered good or cult classics underperformed in the box office. Adam Sandler's Billy Madison only grossed $26 million at the box office. Dazed and Confused only earned $8 million. Grandma's Boy, $6 million. And this was at a time when people were still actively going to the theaters. Our last peak in movie theater ticket sales was in 2002 when 1.5 billion tickets were sold.
Damn.
And although these films technically made more money than their budget, film budgets typically refer to production costs only. Marketing and distribution costs, also known as P&A, print and advertising, are handled separately, and these marketing costs can be in the tens of millions. However, where these films made their real money was in DVD sales, also another thing of the past. DVDs, rentals, and cable syndication were the lifeline for comedies that didn't crush it in the theaters. A movie like Billy Madison might have been considered a moderate performer at the box office, but once it hit blockbuster shelves and played on Comedy Central every other weekend, it became a cultural staple. Those secondary markets gave studios the confidence to take a chance on mid-budget comedies because even if they didn't make their money back in the theaters, there was a high probability the film would eventually find its audience later. That safety net is now gone. Ticket sales are down. Physical media sales have plummeted. Rentals are practically extinct. And while streaming might seem like a replacement, it doesn't generate anywhere near the same revenue for studios. Once a comedy film drops on Netflix or Hulu, the studio gets its licensing fee and that's it. There's no long tail of DVD sales trickling in for years, no late night TV reruns keeping the movie in circulation. There is no second life. Judd Apatow confirmed this when he said, after the last writer's strike, it felt like the studios decided not to develop movies. They used to buy a lot of scripts, and they had big teams of people giving notes, and they worked for years with people in collaboration on those scripts. I feel like the studios don't buy as many scripts now. Today, every comedy has to either perform in theaters that are half empty, or immediately crush on streaming, or it's a total loss. So basically, comedy films just can't work in the modern era. Comedians are choosing podcasting and stand-up over film.
Shit is actually crazy. Like, because I did think about it. I don't know if y'all seen Sinners, but bro, Sinners is a good movie. Like, it really, really is. But when I went to the movie theater, there were like 12 people in there at most. I was like, oh my god. And that wasn't opening day. I admit it really wasn't opening day. But it was like a week or two after the fact. So like the fact that there were 12 people in the theater, and then like probably a total of 20 people in the building, and then if you include the workers, maybe like 35. Like, bro, shit is crazy.